Hey everyone, it's time to fly again. Today I thought I would start a series where I fly across the entire US. I'm going to start way out here in Maine. We're going to land eventually. We're going to make a bunch of stops along the way, but the goal of being in San Francisco. After that, I thought I'd take a look and maybe fly south through Mexico, South America, just kind of bounce around this side of the earth and see what's going on. So a whole series of that. So we're going to start out in Eastport, Maine at an airport called KEPM. So let's get it loaded up. Eastport Municipal, and then we're going to fly towards the Boston area. We're going to fly south to a place called Sanford Seacoast, which is SFM. Sanford Regional. So not a bad flight, 183 nautical miles. We're going to take the TBM 930, so we're going to be scooting right along. It looks like it's cloudy weather. I did set this up to fly with realistic weather, so what's happening out there right now, but I did set the time so that it would be daylight so we can see where we're going. So we'll see how that goes. I just loaded the big 8 gigabyte update that includes a bunch of new files and opportunity to purchase new files, I'm sure. And I took off, I was flying along and it crashed. So here I am starting it up again. I hope that we didn't install some bugs with the recent changes. So we're going to hit this. We're going to get from Eastport over to Sanford Seacoast. I'll put a map of my entire flight plan. I'll paste it to the screen in the video here so you can see what I have in mind for the East Coast to West Coast flight and all the airports along the way. So let's turn the lights on with Control L to bring on the lights. You can see the dash lights came on. Let me just... Let's set up the GPS so when we get up in the air we can just go. So we're going to turn on the yaw damper over here. Set this to nav because we have a GPS course preloaded from when I set the game up. Let's set up the altitude. What did I say we were going? A couple hundred miles. Let's get ourselves up to about 15,000 feet. So we're going to set that. So here we are. You can see that over here on the left display. Okay, so right here, set at 15,000. Now I'm going to set the vertical speed over here by spinning this fake dial. We're going to go up about 1,600 feet per minute. That's good enough. So I have the autopilot all set to go. Once we're in the air, I'll hit the AP button. So let's go ahead, crank up the engines, or engine. This airplane's awesome. I'm going to hit the B key to adjust the altimeter, the barometric pressure, release the parking brake. Here we go. Alright, so we're rolling right along. Feels like there's quite a crosswind and a little bit of torque. Let's get off the ground. Alright, we're climbing. I'm going to hit the G button for the landing gear. I'm going to hit F5 to bring the flaps back up. Now I'm going to reach over here, click this autopilot button, and everything's taken, the airplane's taken over. Back off the throttle just a tiny bit to get rid of that high torque that was right over here. And let's take a look outside, maybe get a picture as we fly away from the runway. Something to make a nice thumbnail with. Go. You can see that the plane is doing a nice job on autopilot, as it always does. You see I've got a blinking light here. Looks like some kind of temperature. Back off the throttle just a tiny bit and that'll go away. So landing gear's up. You can see that the flaps are up right here. We're on our GPS course and we are going at 200 knots ground speed as we climb out. 15,000 feet. And over here on the left screen, you can see we have 179.2 nautical miles to go. Let's kick back, enjoy the cloudy ride. Not much to look at. You can see a little water down there. Hopefully we break out of this soon. So I'm going to mute the microphone. We're just going to ride along for a little bit. Let's check on the weather. Looks like we're going to come out of it. So you can see out in front of us, what is that, 112 nautical miles. It's pretty well cleared up. So when we come into land in a little while, hopefully we'll have a clear view of everything that's going on. Oh yeah, 200 nautical miles out, it's pretty clear weather-wise. I guess that doesn't mean it's not cloudy, but we should be out of any kind of rain. We're right on the border between the U.S. and Canada on the Maine side. .224 knots across the ground. So we're going to make pretty fast transit here. So we're what, at 11,500 feet and climbing. We have 158 nautical miles to go. We are cruising at 232 knots ground speed. This thing's pretty awesome. We'll be there before we know it. Oh, looks like it's icing up. Alright, let's turn on some de-icer. So we can do airframe, prop, windshield. Pitot heat's on already. Alright, we'll see this just start melting away. Look at that. And every once in a while you can see the front, the leading edge of the wing will puff up to break the ice off of it. We're pretty well ice free at this point. Got a red torque indicator over here on the center panel. I just pull the power back just ever so slightly until that goes away. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm not a real pilot, I just play one on YouTube. I took flying lessons about 20 years ago. It was an awful lot of fun. And when 9/11 happened, I wasn't allowed to fly for several months because of where I live. I'm inside Class B airspace of a big airport, Chicago O'Hare, and I wasn't allowed to take off unless I had an instructor on board, and I was far enough into my lessons where I was allowed to fly solo, but I couldn't take off after the restrictions of 9/11, so I stopped taking lessons. By the time I was allowed to fly again, it was the middle of winter, and it was really expensive. The economy wasn't in good shape, so I stopped going, but I did learn how to fly a plane, and that was really a lot of fun. So if you have the interest and the means, I highly recommend it. It's a blast. I have no regrets not getting my license. I'm just glad I was able to get to a point where I could fly solo, and I guess maybe just prove it that I could do it. It was fun. We are at 15,000 feet. Our speed's climbing. We're at 260 knots across the ground and 147 nautical miles to go. That's where this plane gets to be good, because it is so fast. Alright, cloudy day, not much to see. We're up here where the sun's still shining, so that's good. Check back in a few minutes. Alright, we're moving right along. 100 nautical miles to go. ETA is another 20 minutes. Weather has cleared up quite a bit. These islands, that's amazing. I know very little about Maine. There's a lot of trees. I've been there one time. I drove across the border. I was in Boston for some meetings. I had a little extra time, so I drove northeast, and I crossed the border. I went to a gas station, bought a drink, and then got back in my rental and drove back to Boston. So I can say I've been there, but I really haven't experienced it. I have some friends that love to go up there. They have cabins. They go fish and hunt. Mostly fish, I think, and they just love being in Maine. I really like to check it out. It's like a nice big island right there. A lot of people on it. I'm afraid to click the map button out here because it crashed it the last time. I'll try it the next time I get ready to stream. Not when I'm so close to the finish line. 92 miles to go. So I need to drop down 15,000 feet. The airport's right around sea level. The good news about flying in the game versus real life is I don't have to follow any rules. I can just, and nobody gets sick. I can come diving in at the last minute, pull up and land, versus a really well thought out plan. So I know that, what do I have left? 19 minutes and 51 seconds. So really when I get down to, say, 16 minutes, 17 minutes, I will start descending at 1,000 feet per minute. That'll put me about 2 minutes from the airport. When I'm down to around 2,000 feet, we can get an idea of what's going on around there. And then we'll be ready to land. So when I get down to 17-ish on the clock here, we'll start coming down 1,000 feet per minute. Sorry about that. Let's go outside and look. There's an airport right below us. That's a nice looking city. Oh, some traffic off to the right. Looking for that traffic that we can see on the other map, but I don't see any. Alright, looking at the clock, we have 17.5 minutes to go. bring this down to 2,000 feet. Change my vertical speed. Tell it to drop at 1,000 feet per minute. Here we go. Start our descent. 275 knots across the ground. 16.5 minute ETA. Looking good. It's a really nice flight. Right down the coast. And we're really close to the warning line here. Overspeed, 284 knots over the ground. That's interesting. Watch this. I'm going to hit the B key, the barometer. That didn't change much. We have a little conflicting information between the gauges. I'm going to go with this one because this is the one I want it to be. Alright, 12 minutes and 44 seconds to go. Rough and tough, 60 nautical miles out. And we'll land at Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport. Just under 11 minutes out. 50 nautical miles. Text. See an airport just in front of us. Mouse is pointing right at the runway lights. That must be KPWM. Let's see what that is. KPWM. Portland. All right. So we're down around Portland, Maine. Portland International. Nice. All right, where are we here? 8.5 minutes, 40 miles. Still clipping along, 278 knots over the ground. I'm looking forward to getting across the U.S., at least to the Grand Canyon. So there's some interesting stuff to look at. Like I said earlier, I'm going to get a slower plane when we get there, so we can just kind of wind our way through the canyon towards the other airports and do a little sightseeing. I think that'll be cool. Death Valley ought to be pretty neat too, although the last time I flew the simulator out there, it did not correctly recognize below sea level. So as soon as I hit 0, it was as if the ground was there. So I was basically hovering above the runway, however many feet above or below sea level. That's how far down the runway was. I was able to take off from the runway, but I couldn't land on it. So we'll see what happens this time. 7 minutes, 30 miles. Let's take a look outside and look at the Portland airport. Oh, look at that. That'd be a beautiful lineup here. We can just turn right, straight on in. Pretty cool. A nice looking bay in the town there. getting low. Oh yeah, look at that. Great shot of the airport. Nice golf course sliced out of the trees there. We're at 3,000 feet. I'll tell you what, let's lower this thing a little bit more. Let's just keep bringing it down. We'll bring it down to 1,500 feet. 4 minutes out, 20 miles. We're going to be skimming the treetops here. I see flashing lights dead ahead. That could be our airport. I don't know what else it would be since it's so straight off the front. Pretty cool. I don't know what city that is, but there it is. See if I can figure that out. Probably ought to think about landing. 10 miles out. It's got to be our airport there. Can't be anything but that. We'll be down to 6 miles. I'm going to drop some flaps, get the gear down, start slowing this dude down. Seven and a half. Oh man, straight on landing. That's great. I always land from inside the plane because I think it's cheating if I do it from outside, where I can actually see. 5.5, 4. I'm going to put in the first click of flaps, bring the throttle way back. Once I get this thing down a little more, turn off the autopilot. Put down the gear. The gear is down, waiting for it to turn green. There it is. Put in full flaps. Wow, I feel that. Some wind there. 3 knots behind me, so I'm landing with the wind, which you're not supposed to do. But you probably already knew that. $750 feet. All right, here we go. We're down. Ooh, well, it's a little rough. Just rolling out, putting the flaps up. Let's get off the runway. Taxi over here out of the way. I'm going to stop it. Set the parking brake. Alright, thanks for flying along. That was a lot of fun. We'll take the next flight pretty soon, and I don't know where we're going to go. We may shoot down into Boston a little closer, or just head right out to Niagara Falls. Either way, figure that out. I'm going to post the map here so you'll see where we're going next here in just a minute. Right there. Bing.